another edition of MMI Live. I'm your host, Jess Sitch, Managing Director here at Mitchell Martin, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by our special guest, Shantanu Basu. Shantanu, welcome to the broadcast. Very excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. This should be a fun conversation.
Yeah. So a quick intro for those not familiar with Shantanu. Shantanu is an accomplished go-to-market leader. He has an impressive track record of success across the entire go-to-market value chain, including product management, leading revenue strategy, operations, and pricing teams. He has built and grown GTM motions across segments via partner and direct channels at Intel, where he was a chief of staff for a multi-billion-dollar revenue business, Tanium and Ceridian, both SaaS and services companies. Sheesh. So all this to say, Shantanu, you know a couple of things when it comes to some of the topics that we have at hand today. So I don't want to get too far into the fluff here. We need to hop down into it and get into the nitty-gritty. So on LinkedIn, you talk a lot about go-to-market value chain alignment, pricing, self-awareness. I'd like to anchor the conversation mostly in those topics and kind of pick through those just a little bit here with you today. From your perspective and experience, I think we look at a lot of B2B SaaS companies. They've made it from 0 to 1, 1 to 10. What's something that a lot of companies are failing to realize when they're trying to go from 10 to 100?
That's a good question, right? I'll tell you something before I get to that answer. I spent a lot of time over the last 10, 15 years as people talked about 0 to 1 and 1 to 10. And I'm going, there is a brilliance to so many founders and so many visions and so many products and product market fit and the risks they take and the long hours, 26 hours or 24 that they're working to just get their products to market. And then they find that product market fit and then they take off and they realize, hey, I can do something really big with this, right? And I have to say before I get into the 10 to 100 that I don't know that I will ever have that kind of the guts it takes, the vision it takes, and the ability to hustle 24/7 in the single-minded, or towards a single-minded goal for this product that you love and that you've created. What happens though when you hit that 10 and then you just go to 100, somebody told me about the difference between growth and scale, right? When you're going from 0 to 1 or 1 to 10, you're growing. You put X in, you get Y out. Or you put $1 in, you get $1 out. You put $2 in, you get $2 out. And then you put $1 million in, you get $1 million out, and you realize, okay, people are willing to give you $1 million or $10 million or $50 million for that matter for your product. You can sell it to 1,000 customers. What happens from 10 to 100, though, is usually, from my experience, not growth. It's scale. And scale is a different math equation. I'm in math and engineering geek, and I will tend to speak math and engineering all day long. My partner says she wishes I could speak a different language, but we are where we
are. She gets what she gets.
Yeah, she gets what she gets. The 10 to 100 becomes, if I put $10 million in, will I get $50 million out? If I put $500 million in, will I get 20x that? So it's no longer about $1 versus $1 or proving that people are willing to pay you. It's really about building a system that can execute to the fundamentals of go-to-market, and we'll talk about that in a moment, without you having to generally play the hero. You, the CEO founder, you, the founding team, you, the CXO, you, the VP of something. Whoever you are, if you are still playing the hero, you are still directing a lot of the strategy from your own hip, so to speak. You're not really building a system. You have to build a system that can work without you. Yes, your direction is needed, your guidance is needed, your leadership is needed. But if you're not building a system that can execute without people playing heroes, then you're not ever really going to scale. You're always going to hit that ceiling that says, I have no more money to put in. And because I have no more money to put in, there's no more money coming in from other places. And if you don't build that system, you don't start building that gap between the investment and the return such that you can then reinvest that into your company or reinvest that into product and so on and so forth. And so I think most of those who fail between 10 and 100 do so because they're doing the same thing they did from 1 to 10, which
Mm.
is depend on the people as opposed to depend on a combination of people, process, and technology. I'll stop there. We could talk for an hour just on this.
Yeah.
Pause there.
Yeah, I like that. I like the system versus the person, right? Like that's only can only be one key component. You can only get so big until the things that worked in that initial slice just they're not going to enable that scaling in the sense that that you want, obviously. So that's one piece of it, right? But so what is pricing? Like, what role does pricing play? We talk about the go-to-market value chain, and the need for value chain alignment. What does pricing play in that component?
When before I started doing pricing a few years ago at Intel, or started engaging in pricing as a function, to me, pricing was here's the image I had about pricing. So think about a grocery store, right? And you think about the teenager who's working summers and you're going around with a little price gun and putting pricing tags on each product, and you're going, that's simple, right? How difficult can that be? It's when I started getting into it and I realized, man, it is not about the dollar figure. That dollar figure that teenager in the summer put on a packet of biscuits in the grocery store was the end of a long line of analytics, end of a long line of trying to figure out how many biscuits do I need to sell at what price, to whom, when, next to what, before before which sale, and so on and so forth. And it's the same with B2B tech. It's not really just pricing, right? It's pricing and packaging. When you used to pack, even when you didn't have SaaS, or today it's SaaS. Earlier it used to be on-prem software. You used to get packages. You used to get a CD that you would pop into the CD-ROM and install your software, or download from the cloud and install on your servers. Today, packaging makes a very big difference. The pace at which we sell, especially in B2B SaaS, is very much a seller is trying to pitch and position versus 1,000 other sellers to the same buyer. Number one, um, if what you're selling, what he or she can present to the customer, is not fully lined up with the positioning of what the product is not fully lined up to what the actual product being built is, what you have is a customer journey. And forget the seller for a moment. You have a customer journey that says, so wait, what do you want me to buy? Okay, I get it. I want to buy these capabilities. Show me how much it's going to cost. And then what you see on your coat, very tactically, is just something completely different. It is what you want. It just shows up as completely different. And then you say, wait, but that's not what I wanted to buy. And then the AE or the seller has to go, well, no, that is what we talked about. Let me explain. And right there, right, that customer is like, okay, I don't trust you anymore. And so there's so much that goes into packaging of a product that has to be aligned across product, sales, positioning, demand gen. Then the pricing has to be aligned to what the market is willing to pay, what the competitors are charging right now, where your margin goals are, what your product is compared to competition. And now I just named right off the bat 10 different vectors that go into that pricing number. And so if you haven't done all that thoughtfully along the way and set up a system that can do it for product after product, sale after sale, segment after segment, customer after customer, what you're doing is you're putting a whole lot of humans in a room and trying to figure out a dollar figure every time you're making a sale. Going back to what I said earlier, that's not scale, that is growth. And
Right.
you're never going to realize the full market potential of your product if all you think is pricing is a dollar figure. Dollar figure is easy to do. Everything else before that is the difficult piece.
I think every every AE, every person that's going to be at a grocery store is going to look at everything a little bit differently after this conversation of like, I just picked that up off the shelf, or an AE selling something may not even be that aware of the price of the product that they're helping their customer, hopefully purchase and sign up to. So yeah, going back to your point and kind of full circle there, that's that system, right? And the overarching theme of this is how do you scale it? I love that. But so as we kind of talk about this, I don't want you to name any names. We're not going to spill all the beans here, but is there an instance that you can think of where you've seen go-to-market scale achieved versus maybe when you didn't?
I'll tell you about a time I'll name. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to not name names, but I'll name a name in where I saw it work, right? And what was really interesting is it didn't necessarily work, and then it worked, and there was a transition that happened. It
Mm,
happened at Tanium, and who was involved, when it happened, is all immaterial. But right now, if you go to Tanium's website, what you will see very much is they are an XDR platform. What XDR is a material to the conversation, and they have certain solutions they want to sell you. Here's the platform. We want to be your everything IT management and cybersecurity company. I'm not the pitch man for them, but this is how I remember it. And then they have different solutions. And what they're trying to tell you, the buyer or you, the decision maker, is I want you to think in terms of these solutions. This solution takes care of these capabilities and integrates into the rest of your infrastructure like this. This solution does it like that. This solution does it like that. What we'd rather is you buy all three of it from us, built on our platform, but we understand that you have choices. So we're willing to break it down into certain solution areas. What you won't see is a list of 100 things that they sell.
mm-hmm.
Without giving away trade secrets, there was a whole process Tanium went through where they matched what the buyer was willing to buy and wanted to buy to how their products were being developed by creating solution areas or bundles that made sense to the buyer, made sense to the product. It essentially drives how they develop their products today. We are trying to enhance the capability of this solution for this kind of buyer. So they're anchoring on the ICP or the ideal customer profile. They have packages that are aligned to the ideal customer profile. Product development is developing based on that ICP and that bundle. And then the price is consistent for that package and that solution, such that when you say I'm paying $10 a user for the solution, I know exactly what I bought, exactly how much I'm going to get. And what they have below that is not visible to most customers is a whole pricing engine, a dynamic target pricing engine that says, based on this kind of vertical, buying of this solution at this size, based on competitive analysis that we've done and prior history of our selling, your price range should be X to Y. Right there, the seller knows exactly how to position it, exactly what to charge, lower to upper bounds, knows exactly when to go get approval if they want to go lower than that lower bounds, and knows exactly what kind of justification they have to provide if they want to price differently than what is a very mature pricing engine. It works great at Tanium right now. It didn't used to, and I'm not saying I changed it. I was part of the team, part of the thinking, part of the function that changed the whole thing. But it works really well right now, and I love it. I love talking to some of my Tanium friends, and they're like, "Man, this works amazing. Things were so chaotic X amount of years back. Things are great now. Yes, we always have other problems to solve, but this is not one of them." And I'm like, yes, somebody listen and somebody
Anytime
on
you can alleviate at least one problem, you're doing, and that sounds like a big one. So that in and of itself. Where do you think that most of it breaks down? So for those that aren't able to achieve that scale, and you just kind of went through an entire process here, but where does that break down typically in your experience, or what is the buy-in that maybe executives aren't giving, or what has that been?
learning that, Jessica, has been one of the most difficult lessons I've had to learn professionally. I used to work at Intel. I worked at Intel for many years, and the head of the business unit made a lot of the decisions. Finance made a lot of the decisions. But Intel is a $90 billion revenue company, 70 years old, does semiconductors, right? Completely different business model, very mature. In most scaling B2B SaaS companies, the person that really has to buy in, be aligned to either investing in go-to-market value chain alignment, building a system, and or packaging and pricing in a mature way is the CEO. It's usually the founder CEO. Even if it's not the founder CEO, it's the CEO. Because what I found, and I did it wrong. I did it wrong twice before I learned. I need to stop thinking just because everybody else is aligned, like the entire company's aligned, the sellers aligned, finance is on board, products on board, we are good to go. I'm going, I haven't had a sit down deep dive with the CEO. And I almost thought, hey, my VP of somebody will do it, or the CMO's job is to ensure that the CEOs align. No, it's your job. If you run pricing, if you run RevOps, your buy-in needs to be the CEO. Because if you're trying to build a system, systems take time, systems take investment, systems piss people off because people are like, this is my job. I'm like, I want you to do the job, but the job has to be part of a system, not just because you're doing it. And the only person that can make it or break it comes from the top, has to be the CEO that's bought in. If they're not, then you have to focus on what they're telling you to do, because otherwise you're just going to keep rubbing against the CEO's vision, and not so much the product and the market vision as much as the CEO is going to go, I want to go that direction. Maybe the CEO is right, but if the CEO is bought into the system, is bought into how you're going to market right now, the CEO also realizes, he or she realizes that I know I want to go here, but let's give time for that system to move. Because if I just yank everybody here in the system, like the ship hasn't quite turned, we're going to be back in the same place 2 years from now. So unless that CEO is on board, I wouldn't take a step forward.
Yeah. We encounter it a lot, working with various leaders across all verticals, really, of that change management function. And a lot of times it is, getting the internal alignment and buy-in from senior and executive leadership that then trickles down and allows you, the flexibility and the support to take those really large leaps forward. Because otherwise, like you said, you're just, it's that constant friction that inevitably will fail if you don't have it.
100%. I'll give you a very quick example. Very recently, without naming names again, we were using a consulting firm to help us with some certain go-to-market and pricing strategies. And one thing led to another, and someone's like, hey, I don't want to spend so much money. I just want to spend this much money. Just have them give us the recommendations after the market analysis. The consulting firm said no. Said, we won't do the project if you don't let us run through change management. And for me, that first it was, is this hey, if it's not $1 million deal, then I don't want to do it with you. And I spoke to the partner of that consulting firm and said, the point isn't that. The point is, look, I'm happy to take $500,000 from you over 2 months, go away and invest it and go do another big project. I have enough projects on my plate. But if you are going to be successful, the bigger investment is not in what I tell you should do, is in the change management to make sure whatever we decide we're going to do is sticky. And so change management, to your point, is the biggest investment of time, energy, and people coming up with a recommendation and a strategy and how to operationalize it. You know what? There are 1,000 SaaS companies out there. There are many big ones. They've done it successfully before. It's not rocket science. You just have to follow through the change management and get that CEO's buy-in.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the hardest part. But I think it brings up a good point. So we kind of, to round it out, obviously there's so much more at play here, though, and we could talk for hours probably. Right. And I would encourage anyone who would like to continue the conversation to reach out to Shantanu, because he's a wealth of knowledge and knows his stuff. But, we've talked a lot about the technicalities, strategy, operations, but, as well as I do, it's never a one-person show, right? We've talked about a lot of the different players that are involved, but as you look from a senior leadership perspective, and you've been at these, in these roles for quite some time, what are some of the qualities, characteristics, traits that you look for when you're aligning, strategic team members underneath you or, along within your vertical?
Oof, that's a big question, Jessica.
Loaded question.
You asked me for one, if I had to pick one, I will say this though, I'm probably also projecting based on my journey as a person and my journey as a father and a partner and a leader and a member of the community. I realized I was being a lot more fulfilled. I was being able to serve my role in these different facets of life as I traverse the journey of self-awareness. You don't see a halo on my head, so clearly I haven't reached, the state of Buddha. But what I'm looking for and what I am trying to bring to the table is self-awareness, or at least improved self-awareness over time. There's no such thing as yes or no. It is just more or less. And the more I am able to understand why certain things are happening, the more I'm able to understand why I react in certain ways to certain situations, the more I'm able to understand why somebody else reacts to certain things in certain situations versus just taking their reaction at face value. I'm not discounting people's reactions or actions. I'm just saying, one of my favorite things, and probably gets too annoying, for people after some time, is I'll say, say more, or say why. I understand you're saying X, Y, Z, but I think ABC. How did you get to X, Y, Z? And once somebody knows that they can trust me and I'm not really questioning who they are, they tend to get really descriptive and prescriptive about what they're saying. And along that journey, both of us would probably come to the same conclusion or realize very specifically why we have come to two different conclusions. And in our personal lives, most times we don't have the time to do that. Whether you're reacting to your children, you're reacting to your partner. At work, I don't know why we would do it any other way. We have time. Decisions aren't instant. Decisions with children are instant, right? You decide to react in anger, you've kind of made a tear in that moment, so you have to be self-conscious about what you're doing. At work, we have time to make decisions. We have time to have conversations. And like, I don't know who said that. I'm pretty sure somebody will correct me and say, somebody said the point isn't getting to the answer, the point is asking the right question. And I don't know that you can ask the right question if you haven't kind of worked on your own self-awareness, nor if you are surrounded by people who are more reacting to things versus acting. If we are all acting, asking questions, and essentially focusing on our own self-awareness, I think everything else kind of fits in after that. Obviously, technical skills are important. Obviously, business skills are important. Obviously, management skills are important. But for me, it all starts with self-awareness. And that's where I've had more success than not.
Yeah, I like that. The self-awareness, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but there's an empathy component. Why is someone reacting this way? I'm evaluating my own reaction or my own thoughts. Maybe why are they saying it, and that what are they saying that I'm not saying? Or that curiosity component too of hey, I may have some blinders on here. Like maybe this person has a different perspective that's gonna help us avoid a pitfall or whatever it may be. So I love that piece of advice. I think that's something that's under verbalized. I don't know that it's undervalued, but I don't know that everyone really says that, that's something that it is a key component to a lot of these things and to driving success. So very well said, as per usual.
I appreciate you saying that. I think I also just learned something from you. Says there is a nuance between knowing it, understanding it, and verbalizing it, and those are three different components of any topic or any pillar. Thank you. I love it when somebody says something that I go, oh, that I want to learn what she just said. And
no extra charge, Shantanu. I won't charge you any extra for that. I built it into my pricing strategy, so it's all there.
Look at you.
Well, once again, I know we could go on and on. I want to be conscious of your time and thank you so much again for coming on and sharing your perspective. I think if nothing else, you've shared a ton of insight. You've, I think, opened eyes to a lot of different ways to think about things. I would encourage everyone here, if you have more questions, if you have thoughts, reactions, if you want to share your perspective, please reach out to myself, reach out to Shantanu. You can add us on LinkedIn. For those of you that aren't following Mitchell Martin, I would encourage you to give us a follow on LinkedIn, connect with us. Like I said there, we are always bringing, leaders such as Shantanu to the stage to share practical knowledge, advice, these battles that we fought day to day, all of the battle scars, blood, sweat, tears, hopefully lots of laughs and joy along the way too. But those heartfelt trials, we're bringing the real solutions and conversations to the table. So hopefully you'll give us a follow. Again, reach out to us if you have any thoughts or want to continue the conversation. And Shantanu, we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you for the fun conversation. I appreciate it, Jessica.
All right. We'll see you soon. MMI Live, signing off.